Shalom to you and welcome. In this video, we look at complementary and supplementary angles. So we are going to identify complementary and supplementary angles and solve problems involving them. So remember, you need to understand and memorize definitions. Complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So if you add up any two angles and you get 90 degrees, then those two angles are complementary to each other. And we call them complements of each other. Supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180, which means they form a straight line if you put them adjacent to each other. So each of the angles are called supplement of the other. So again, complement, supplement. How do you tell them apart? So surplus, when you have surplus, it's in abundance. So supplementary is double complementary. So that's how I remember it. Think of how you can remember it so you don't confuse which is which. Supplementary, sum of 180, complementary, sum is 90. Now, adjacent angles are two angles that share a common vertex and a common side. So again, keep in mind the definition. They have to have a common side and a common angle. And there's no common interior points. They don't overlap. So keep in mind that complementary and supplementary angles can be either adjacent, which means they are side by side, like angle ADB is 65. Angle BDC is 25. The measure of them, if you add them up, you get 90. So they are complementary. But then they also share side D, ray DB. The DB, they have it as one side, and then they share a common vertex D. So they are adjacent complementary. Now, if you add 35 plus 55, they will give you 90 also, but they are two separate angles. They do not share any common point or any common side. They are non-adjacent. So but both of them are complementary angles. The same happens with supplementary. When they are adjacent, they must form a straight angle, because a straight angle is 180, like angle 1 and 2. If they are non-adjacent, just check they add their sum, see if they add up to 180. So find the complement of an angle. This angle I'm going to try. Okay, this angle. So let's get the definition of complement. So complement of angle A is 90 minus A. So that's the definition of complement. Therefore, complement of this angle 61 degree 21 minutes and 13 seconds. So that's one. It's going to be 90 minus 61, 90 degree minus 61 degree, 21 minutes and 13 seconds. So then we set it up and solve. So we have 90 degrees, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, minus 61 degrees, 21 minutes and 13 seconds. So if we try to subtract them, you see we do not have something to subtract 13 from. So we have to come here and borrow. So this will be 89. So we borrow 1 degree. 1 degree, move it over to minutes. It becomes 60 minutes. So 60 minutes. So we have to borrow 1 minute to make second. So if we borrow 1 minute, it's remaining 59 minutes. So that 1 minute is 60 seconds. So now we subtract 60 minus 13, we get 47 seconds. Now 59 left here minus 21 is 38 minutes, and 89 minus 61 is 28 degrees, and that's the answer. If we take this now and add it to this, we must get 90 degrees. Okay, so if two angles are supplementary and they are congruent means they are equal to each other. Think of it. What angle could you multiply it? Could you add to itself and you get 180 degrees supplementary? Sorry. So that must be 90. So because 90 plus 90 would give you 180. There's no other number you can add to itself and get 180. Therefore, if two angles are supplementary and congruent, then the measure of the angles, or the two angles, must be 90 degrees. Okay. Same if two angles are complementary and congruent, then the measure of the two angles of each of them, of course, is or must be 45 degrees, because 45 plus 45 equals 90. Okay, so let's solve more problem. One of two complementary angles added to half. Let's write it out. Okay, so let's define the angle. So the angle, if the angle is x, then the complement of that angle must be 90 minus x. Okay, we need the complement, and one of the complement angle added to 1/2 the other. Okay, so we just need the complement, we don't need the supplement. So now if we're going to define this, one of two complementary angles added to 1/2 the other. So complementary plus 1/2 the angle equals 72. So if we're able to take the statement and write it in a shorter form, and that gives you an equation. So a complement plus 1/2 of the other. You can also say the angle plus 1/2 of the complement, because they say 1/2 of the other, it doesn't matter. You will still get it correct. So the complement is 90 minus x plus 1/2 of the angle. The angle, we represented it as x, equals 72. So now we solve, distribute here. So we get 90 minus x plus 1/2 x equals 72. Now we collect like terms. We can add these two together. This is negative 1/2, negative 1. So this is like, there's 1 there. So it's negative 1x plus positive 1x. That will give us negative 1/2 x. So it's negative 1/2 x left there. And then if we subtract 90 from both sides, and that would give us 90 over here. We have negative, because 90 is bigger and is negative, so we whenever we have a positive and a negative, we basically subtract them. So that will give negative 18. Okay, so now to get x by itself, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. We multiply by the reciprocal of negative 1/2 is negative 2. So we multiply both sides by negative 2. So this is not x, this is just multiplication. Let me use dot. So you can make it over 1 so that you are not putting negative 2 in the denominator. So you're multiplying by negative 2. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So the negative 2 will cross out here. We just have x equals negative times negative become positive. So we get 36. So since the x represents the angle, so 36 is the angle. The angle measures 36. We're asked to find the measure of the larger. Well, let's find the other angle then. If this is the angle, the complement of the angle is going to be 90 minus x now, which is 36. So complement is 54. So now we see that the complement is bigger. So we say the larger is 54 degrees. Okay. Let's do another one. So more practice. Practice makes perfect. So the measure of the supplement of an angle is 30 less than 5 times the measure of the complement. So we need both complement and supplement. So let the angle equals x. The complement of the angle equals 90 minus x. The supplement of the angle equals 180 minus x. Okay, so now let's write an equation. Again, it's helpful to try to shorten the statement. The first statement said the measure of supplement. So supplement is 30 less than 5 times the complement. Okay, so we've taken that first statement and then we wrote it into a shorter sentence. So let's replace them with numbers. So now our expression supplement we define here is 180 minus x. Is means equal. 30 less means minus 30. So it's negative 30. Again, 30 less is not 30 minus something. It is something minus 30. So the negative has to be in front. So now 5 times plus 5 times the complement. So the complement is 90 minus x. And now we have an equation to solve for x. So once we solve for x, which represents the angle, then we go from there. So do your algebra correctly, distribute. So that would give us 450 minus 5x. And then we have negative 30 here, bring it down. 180 minus x equals. Okay, so we collect like terms. We can add negative, let me put the 30 here. It's negative 30 plus 450 will give us 420. So we are just subtracting 30. Then we can also have the x. Let me get a new color. We can add 5x from both sides. Add 5x. Okay, and that would give us so that will give us 450 over here equals So we have 180 still over here, plus, so negative 1x plus 5x is 4x. And now we can subtract 180 from both sides. So 4x equals 240. So x equals 240 divided by 4, which is 60. So since x equals 60 degrees, which is the angle, now the next part of the problem says find the 2/5 of the measure of the complement. So we need to find the complement then. So the complement is 90 minus x, which is 90 minus 60, which is 30. Oops. So if the complement is 30, then 2/5 of the complement, it's going to be 2/5 of means multiplication of the complement, which is 30 we found. We can multiply 2 times 30 and then divide by 5, or divide 2 divided by 5 and multiply by 30. Any way you do it, you're going to get that 12. So that's 12 is 2/5 of the measure of the complement. Then the steps, the process has to make sense. Okay, hope you get it. Thank you.